Coming up on this week's edition of NCBA's Cattlemen to Cattlemen.
We'll take a look back at some of the recent presidents of NCBA and see what life is like back home for these cattle industry leaders.
Now, from the Denver headquarters of the National Cattlemen's Beef Association, it's NCBA's Cattlemen to Cattlemen.
Hello and welcome to this week's special edition of NCBA's Cattlemen to Cattlemen. I'm Kevin Ochsner. Thanks for joining us. Over the years, the National Cattlemen's Beef Association has been blessed with many great individuals who work countless hours on behalf of the beef industry. It starts at the top with the president, the person who each year serves as the face of the organization. Today, we're going to take a look back at some of the recent NCBA presidents and see what life is like back home on their operations. We'll share the stories that were created at the time each of these leaders was about to take the reins as NCBA president. First, we turn back the clock to 2012 and head to Nebraska and the home operation for J.D. Alexander.
J.D. Alexander believes his part of eastern Nebraska is one of the best places in the world to raise cattle.
We're above the Ogallala Aquifer, which is a natural underwater lake, which allows us to have irrigation wells that not very deep to irrigate the ground. That, of course, grows the corn to feed the cattle. Where there's corn, the ethanol industry has popped up, and we're very heavily users of the ethanol byproducts. The other thing that's very unique about us is we have access to a lot of feeder cattle. You know, we can go in a big radius, and anymore the trucking seems to be a non-issue that we'll haul cattle for 1,000 miles to come into our feedlot. And the final really good thing about our location and in our feedlot is when we go to our final product and sell to the packers, we have 5 major packers within 150 miles that we have an opportunity to sell to.
A third-generation cattle feeder, J.D. was born and raised on his family's operation and has spent most of his life here.
Today we're about a 5,000 head feedlot. We'll try and market around 12 to 13,000 or so head of cattle a year. We also have 2,000 acres of row crop, which we primarily grow as corn. We feed it all to our cattle, plus we have to buy about another fair amount to utilize all of it. So we're a very family-orientated operation.
Along with his wife Deb and their children, J.D. is working to ensure the next generation of Alexanders will be able to stay in the cattle industry. And he says that's one of the reasons he's been active for years in the National Cattlemen's Beef Association.
I guess I got started very young. I liked it. It gave me a chance to meet other people in our business, professionals and so on. Opened up a different array of things that you can do to affect your business. And I kind of just enjoyed that, liked the people, and so I've been involved in it ever since. Very much looking forward to the next year as serving as president of NCBA.
As NCBA president, J.D. will spend much of the year on the road, traveling to represent the industry's interests at home and abroad. It's something his family says he's well prepared for.
It's something that I'm really glad for him to do. Really, there's no better man for the job. He knows all facets of the beef industry inside and out. He's been kind of stepped his way up through the program, started on local levels, worked up to state, national, and now, of course, becoming president of NCBA, he's kind of done it all. And it's not very often that a son gets to say he's proud of his father. Usually it's the other way around. So it truly makes me feel good to say, my dad is doing something this great.
Whatever he wants to get done, he'll get done. I know that about him. And he's taught all of us that. Whatever you want in life, never be satisfied, but always be humble and just keep going. And he's gonna do it.
When I met JD 40 years ago, he was a leader, but he was a quiet leader. And in the last 40 years, probably has found his voice. I think a lot of people will agree with me on that. he'll be a great spokesperson for the producer. He's very concerned about the industry. It's his passion, it's his love. And I think it's going to be an exciting adventure for everyone.
Because of his experience within NCBA, JD is a believer in the value of cattlemen and women being unified on the critical issues that impact their operations and the cattle industry.
We're a grassroots organization, so if you have an issue that you want to bring up, you have a voice to bring that to the highlight and have the organization respond to what your needs are. So I look at it too as it's a great camaraderie. You know, I'm a believer in working with your fellow neighbors and working together and joining forces and having something very worthwhile fighting for.
There's power in numbers, and you will find your voice in the numbers. JD will be very approachable as far as leading the organization. He'll listen to you, listen to your concerns. It's hard to get things accomplished on your own, and I think NCBA has the best interest of all producers involved in the industry.
As NCBA president, JD expects to take on a wide variety of issues, including government overregulation, expanding international markets, global competition, and the shrinking cattle herd.
Our numbers right now are about as low as they've ever been. And the concern is if you create such a demand, you just want to make sure you can be able to supply it as well.
Being NCBA president will mean a lot of time on the road for JD, but that's something he's used to, thanks to another of his passions.
So I enjoy going out and motorcycling. It's a good way to be out in the open. Can do it pretty easily from this part of the world, but I really do enjoy going on trips in particular. I've got some friends that we usually go on a trip about once a year and see some very beautiful country across the United States.
JD's passion for the industry, his depth of experience, and his ability to connect with others all have prepared him for his new role as NCBA president. And his love of family will help him stay connected to home.
It's going to be tough, but thank goodness for technology. He's already gone quite a bit here even in this last year. And so with technology, there's always cell phones, email, text. They're great tools for this job. And so even when there's questions, he's only a phone call or a text away. JD's a huge family man. And that's, family is what got him to where he is today. And I know he won't ever forget it, but that's one thing I always remind him is there's always people back here who love and think about him even when he's 2,000 miles away overseas.
I've always been a believer in being part of something bigger than just yourself. And I guess it kind of got instilled in me early on, actually, before I actually came back to the operation, is you have professional organizations that look out for the betterment of your industry. And I realized that you really need this. You need camaraderie. You need to have fellow cattlemen work together to work for the betterment of the industry to make it a better place to work in.
Reporting from Pilger, Nebraska, I'm Brian Baxter for NCBA's Cattlemen to Cattlemen.
Still to come on Cattlemen to Cattlemen, we're crisscrossing the country as we look back at other past NCBA presidents with stops in Wyoming, Texas, and Kansas. Don't go away. We'll be right back.
The elements can be relentless. Make sure they have respiratory protection to match.
Saddle up and make your way to Denver, Colorado for the 2019 Cattle Industry Summer Business Meeting. This is your chance to stay up to date on beef industry trends and policies. Meet with industry leaders and your fellow cattlemen and women. Plus, you'll get insights on hot topics at the issues forums. Mark your calendar for the 2019 Cattle Industry Summer Business Meeting, July 29th to August 1st in Denver. Details at ncba.org.
Welcome back. Oftentimes, people may forget that dairy producers are also beef producers, and dairy cattle make an important contribution to the U.S. beef supply. And so, the 2013 NCBA president was both a dairy and beef cattle producer from Wyoming. Once again, we look back to our story profiling that year's president, Scott George.
Nestled in the mountains of northwest Wyoming, you'll find George Farms, a family dairy operation that's been in business for nearly 70 years. It's the land Scott George has lived off of his whole life, and the same land his parents homesteaded back in 1947.
They started farming, and they were having trouble farming, making enough money to farm, and so the banker told them, "You've got to do something to make some more money." And so they bought some cows and started milking cows, and we've been milking cows ever since.
Today, Scott and his crew milk 550 cows twice a day, 365 days of the year. And if that isn't enough to keep them busy, George Farms also has a beef cattle operation.
Our beef herd we kind of stumbled into. One year we had some excess silage and we sold it to a man, and it turns out he didn't have money to pay for it. But he had some calves that he hadn't got sold, and we got those calves in payment. And we were kind of looking at expanding into the beef herd as well, because we really enjoy the cattle and we know how to run cattle. And so we've started building our herd since then, and we're running around 100 and some odd mother cows now, and we really enjoy them.
Every single person who works on the farm plays an integral role in the operation's success. And despite his busy schedule, Scott is committed to keeping the business family-centered.
We've been able to work with our whole family. I grew up working with my father farming and milking cows, and my mother milked cows for years. I've worked with my brothers. We've learned how to get along. Some people don't do that. I've also got to work with my children on the farm, and my brother's children, and my sister's children. I think nearly every one of my nephews and nieces have worked on the farm at one time or another in their lives.
Home, home on the range, where the deer and the antelope play, where seldom is heard a discouraging word, and the skies are not cloudy all day.
I'm really proud of our operation. Teamwork is absolutely the bedrock of our operation.
And that teamwork is going to be vital over the next year. As president of the National Cattlemen's Beef Association, Scott will be on the road for nearly 10 months in 2013, and he'll have to rely on his family to keep the operation running smoothly while he's gone.
Spending that much time on the road is going to be a real challenge. We do have a strong team, but every team member plays a part. And when one is out of the picture, the others have to shoulder the burden. I'm going to owe a big, big debt of gratitude to my brothers and these nephews and to our employees that are working, because they're shouldering my part of this load.
Scott's path to being an NCBA president is a bit different than past presidents. In 1991, he was asked to serve as a director for the Wyoming Beef Council. Little did he know it was a decision that would spark his passion for being a leader in the beef industry.
As I got more informed of what we were doing with the checkoff on both the state level and the national level, I got more interested in working at the national level as well. And eventually I was appointed to represent the Federation. And I worked on the Federation side, and through that involvement I got more involved and got to see what NCBA's policy arm was doing.
While some people might think it's strange to have a dairyman as an NCBA president, Scott says he has a lot of knowledge about the beef industry and is ready for the responsibility of leading the association.
We've had cow-calf operators, we've had stocker operators, we've had feeder operators, now we have dairymen that are part of this organization. Our cattle all end up in the beef supply chain somewhere along the line, and it's becoming more and more important the dairy cattle are to the whole beef sector as our nation's beef cow herd is shrinking. As a dairyman, I feel like I kind of understand the whole cattle business. I mean, we work with the breeding of our dairy cows and beef cows both. We artificially inseminate. We understand birthing the calves. We understand raising the calves. We raise all of our own replacements. We raise all of our own replacement heifers, and we're also raising some bulls and selling bulls.
The issues facing the beef industry are a top priority for Scott. During his time as NCBA president, he's committed to making sure issues like the estate tax and government overregulation are at the forefront of discussions with lawmakers in Washington.
There are a lot of issues that are of interest. Absolutely, the top one on my mind is the estate tax. We see farmers and ranchers that are asset rich and cash poor. They live poor their whole lives. They live by the skin of their teeth. I know what that's like because we're there. We're always there. And yet when it comes time that they pass away, their children would like to carry on that business, and estate tax can eat them up.
Scott knows the importance of helping the beef industry resolve these challenges, but he also knows how to keep a good sense of humor when things start to get too serious.
My favorite dairy joke, I guess, would have to be about the woman that stopped the milk delivery man, and she said, "I would like to have you leave enough milk so I can take a bath. It's supposed to be good for my skin complexion." And he said, "Do you want it pasteurized?" And she said, "No, just up to my navel."
During his term as NCBA president, Scott is dedicated to helping protect the farming and ranching way of life so future generations can have the chance to enjoy it as well.
I recognize that you're never going to appease everybody. Not everybody's going to be happy with every decision that's made in the world. And in the end, we have to look at the big picture. What's the best for the entire industry? What gives us the opportunity to stay in business, to be in business, and to prosper, to take care of our families, to take care of the lands and the cattle, and enjoy the lives that we enjoy living. I love working with the land and the cattle, and I want other people that want to have that opportunity to be able to do it.
Want to rewatch an episode of Cattlemen to Cattlemen or catch up on anything you've missed? Then visit our YouTube page. You'll find replays of all of our shows filled with educational segments and producer profiles from around the country. So check us out at youtube.com/Cattlemen to Cattlemen. Still to come on Cattlemen to Cattlemen, we'll take a trip to South Texas and visit with 2014 President Bob McCann. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
At Case IH, we believe it's our job to provide you with solutions. That's why our Farmall and Maxim tractors, as well as our tools and attachments, are designed with you in mind. From mowing to baling to loading and more, we're here to help turn your to-dos into to-dones. At Case IH, we'll keep your days running smoothly with equipment that's durable, versatile, and highly efficient. No wonder farmers are more loyal to Case IH than any other brand. Visit your local dealer or go to caseih.com/livestock for more.
How's your production on pasture? Are profits down? Are weight gains down? What are you going to do about it? Do something cost-effective. Do something that will make a difference. To add the first and proven leader in feed-through hornfly control to your cattle rations, ask for it by name, Alticid IGR.
Welcome back. This time around, we're looking back at the presidential profiles that were created as each NCBA president prepared to start their year. The 2014 president was Bob McCann, who calls South Texas home. Let's take a look at a day in the life on the McFadden Ranch.
It's just before dawn in South Texas, and Bob McCann is saddling his horse in the early morning fog and preparing to move some cattle with his crew. Bob oversees the cattle and the hunting and wildlife operations for his family's company, McFadden Enterprises.
My great-great-grandfather founded this ranch in 1877. he put the property together. And so I am fifth generation of our family to manage the ranch. It's a very unique operation here in that we operate on about 3 different counties. We have 2 ranches here in Victoria County that are what you would call the coastal plains, and we have another ranch south of here that's a lease ranch that our family has leased since 1932. We're pretty far south down here as far as the United States goes, so we've been able to make it work for a long time.
McFadden Enterprises includes combined acreage that can support anywhere from 3,000 to 5,000 head depending on rainfall and forage availability. The ranches are stocked with commercial crossbred cattle.
My grandfather started our particular breed of the Brayford cattle, which is a 3/4 Hereford, 1/4 Brahman, crossing Hereford bulls on Brahman cows. So the 3/4, 1/4 breed was what we found to be the, kind of the best cross for our part of the country here. And as you can see, our cows really look a lot like a Hereford animal and have a lot of the Boss Taurus qualities about them.
Bob studied range science, so properly managing brush and all of his ranch's resources has always been a priority, and one of the main reasons McFadden Enterprises has been able to stay in business for so long.
We've seen our cattle operation really grow and improve because of the improvements that we've invested in for the ranch. I want this place to be in as good a condition as I can leave it for the next generation, for my children, for my cousin's children, our family's operation. And if it's in good condition, if it's a productive environment, it's going to be a profitable environment.
Beef industry advocacy is not new to the McCann family. They've been leaders in the Texas cattle industry for several generations, and Bob is a past president of the Texas and Southwestern Cattle Raisers Association. But the role of president of NCBA offers a different challenge as Bob gets a chance to represent cattlemen at the national level.
My grandfather served as president of the Texas and Southwestern Cattle Raisers, as did his uncle, my great uncle, and my father was a director in that organization, and I served as president of that organization about 10 years ago. And kind of during that time is when I got involved with National Cattlemen's. It's been really humbling to be able to kind of follow up in my family's footsteps in that regard. And I kind of grew up in that environment, going to a lot of the cattlemen's meetings, and so it was kind of a natural progression for me. And so I've really enjoyed a lot of the advocacy work and working with the different committees and just kind of having dialogue with different cattlemen around the country is really been enjoyable for me. It's a great honor for me, and it's a great honor for my family, and to be involved with an organization like NCBA that has just wonderful people involved.
Bob and his wife Julie have 2 children, Robert and Mary, and that family support will be critical. As NCBA president, Bob expects to spend as many as 300 days on the road, visiting with his fellow cattlemen and women.
It's a big treat for me to go out to these state affiliates and be able to visit with cattlemen in different parts of the country, kind of see how they run their operations, and I feel it's given me a whole lot better outlook on what the needs are of our cattle industry going forward. I'm really thankful that I have some family here that will help out. Although my son is still in college, he's down a lot. My father is still around. He's 83 years old, but he still keeps a pretty good eagle eye on what's going on at the operation. And I've got some good help working for me. With the communication technology we have today and cell phones and computers and things, I think it's certainly something we can strive to get done.
Bob's knowledge of the cattle industry both in the U.S. and internationally will be a huge advantage as cattle producers look to open up more foreign markets for U.S. beef.
We're enjoying some really good markets right now, and we hope to see that continue. But a lot of what's driving some of the good market we're having right now is our international market. And I think we've got great opportunities ahead of us with opening some new markets. We've got some really good markets open right now that are growing, and there's a lot of consumers of our product that live outside of this country. So we need to continue to focus on that. I think that's a great opportunity for us.
Bob is also passionate about helping young producers get started in the industry, and he knows the value of getting them involved in organizations like NCBA at an early age.
Those people have a lot of energy. They got a lot of passion for this industry. They've got some great ideas, and we need to make sure that we give them the opportunity to be able to be part of everything we do, I think, at NCBA. And they are the generation that are going to be able to relate to a lot of our consumers, possibly better than some of us older guys can. Plus, we need to have those people coming back into the industry, into our business. And whether it's our own children or someone else's children, it's important that we get young people coming back into the cattle industry.
Bob feels good about NCBA's place in the beef industry. He's a believer in the value of cattlemen joining together and knows that NCBA can play an important role in unifying the industry.
It's a great opportunity to be able to have dialogue with fellow cattlemen and be able to formulate policies that we as cattlemen can come together and agree upon as the best pathway forward for our industry. I've always felt that cattle industry is always going to have a tremendous amount of challenges, has forever and ever, but there's always going to be a lot of opportunities there. And the opportunities will be different through the years, but I see this in the next few years as us having a lot of opportunity. And if we can overcome our challenges, I think we've got a great future ahead of us.
There are many great reasons to become a member of NCBA, and one of them is a chance to read the National Cattlemen. A subscription is included free of charge when you become a member of NCBA. Just call 1-866-233-3872 or visit the website ncba.org. Still to come on Cattlemen to Cattlemen, we get a closer look at a day in the life of former NCBA President Philip Ellis. Plus, we check in with the always entertaining cowboy poet, Baxter Black. Don't go away. We'll be right back.
It started with a man, a plot of land, and a few head of cattle. That man, your great-grandfather. You've got his name and his legacy, too. It's what you fight to live up to and work to leave behind. With innovation, integrity, and passion that runs as deep as yours, we'll be there. For your operation, for your future, for you. This is why Merck Animal Health works.
Say goodbye to your toughest pasture and rangeland weeds for good. Because one product offers season-long control, handles the widest spectrum of broadleaf weeds, and clears the way for increased forage with greater grazing flexibility. So you get more beef per acre at a cost that can't be beat. It's Grazon Next HL herbicide, and if it's in your pastures, plain and simple, weeds won't be.
You're watching NCBA's Cattlemen to Cattlemen on RFD TV.
Welcome back. We're bringing you a closer look at what life is like back home for some of the recent presidents of NCBA. Now, let's take a trip back in time to 2015 and the profile of that year's president from Wyoming, Philip Ellis.
Nestled in the Bear Creek Valley of southeastern Wyoming sits the Marsh and Ellis Ranch. Today, Philip Ellis heads the ranch, which is a family business that dates back to the late 1800s.
I'm a fifth-generation rancher. The sixth generation ranching is working into the ranch with me, and the seventh generation they're on the ground and running with grandsons and grandnephews. My family were in here very early. This area of southeast Wyoming in the 1870s, they discovered that the shortgrass prairie was a high-quality grass and that cattle could thrive here. My great-grandfather came here as a a teenager from Iowa, and he came to one of the big operations that had just built a big house in this valley, and within a few years he was an open range cowboy for that operation.
Chugwater, Wyoming is just 45 miles north of Cheyenne, and while the high-quality grasses are ideal for raising cattle, the harsh winter weather can be tough on the cattlemen and the livestock.
So by the 1889, my teenage great-grandfather and a teenage gal had married and established their own operation. And they got that opportunity because the blizzards of '86 and '87 took out the large cattle barons' herds. They didn't understand that there could be harsh winters here.
Through the years, the Marsh and Ellis Ranch has adapted to meet the changing needs of the beef industry. What was originally a registered Hereford operation has evolved into a commercial Red Angus Hereford outfit. The crossbreds thrive in the harsh conditions and still produce high-quality beef.
About 30 years ago, when I came back and worked in and took over the operation, we changed and started crossbreeding with Red Angus. I think the Hereford's hardiness was famous in this area, for our winters can be harsh and the wind can be harsh. The Red Angus for the growth factor and the meat quality, cutability added into the Hereford makes a real good cross for this area. We've been really happy with those cattle. Our operation today is a commercial cow yearling operation. We calve cows and then we carry the calves over another season.
Growing up, Philip's family taught him the importance of being a member of state and national livestock associations, a lesson that primed his desire to serve the beef industry.
There are records going back to the 1940s of membership in the associations that become the National Cattlemen's Beef Association. We've always felt it's just very important because we're out here doing our work, but we realize that government, both state and national, that we need to join together with other ranchers to have a voice.
Philip began volunteering in the cattle industry more than 30 years ago with the Laramie County Stock Growers Association. This local beginning launched a career of industry service, and since then he's held a variety of roles at both the state and national levels. A notable leader, no doubt, Philip says his love for the cattle industry drives him to continue volunteering for the greater good.
And following my family's example, I got involved at the state level. And so it is important for me to be there and to lend my voice and things I can do to help the beef industry. When you enjoy and are passionate about the industry, they say you'll never work a day in your life. And I think this is an industry one can be passionate about. And one thing I love about involvement in NCBA is that as I travel across the country and I speak and meet with and visit with cattle people, agricultural people, I'm always home. When I'm with beef cattle people, I'm always home.
As he travels the country, Philip finds taxes are a concern for farmers and ranchers. Tax burdens can cripple cattle operations in the present, but also for years to come. Philip knows the value of planning for generational transfer on his own ranch, and one of his goals as NCBA president is to establish long-term tax solutions for cattle producers.
We have done a lot of transition planning, given the realities of the estate tax and having to plan for that. Like all ranchers, we have a land base, cattle base here, but as far as capital, our outfit would never been able to stand an estate tax. So we've done extensive planning with the generations to handle that. Part of that has been an understanding that the assets, if the ranch is going to continue, need to make a plan for them to go to the people that are on the ranch. Our role is to really support those family members that are ranching, and that has been successful through 3 generations so far.
Policy work, educational outreach, and promotion all play a role in the success of the beef industry. Philip says each of these areas are critical for NCBA to work in to correct consumer misconceptions about beef production and to fight against regulatory overreach.
We are constantly challenged by government regulations, and we talk a lot about that. we need to have our voice out there to explain what we do on our ranches. Those of us in production agriculture are a minority of the population now, and there are so many people involved at the government level, and we need to explain what we do and make those regulations work for us. I think one of the big challenges we have is to understand and communicate with those who are critical of the beef cattle industry and agricultural in general, whether it's those that are critical in the policy process or those that are critical in our markets and in the foods and retail sector. If we can understand them and communicate our product, the value of our product, the healthiness of the beef product, and the good work that we do out here on our ranches.
As Philip Ellis takes the reins as president of NCBA, he notes global trade is also an area of focus. He believes beef is the best protein not only for Americans, but for consumers worldwide.
96% of our population live outside the U.S., and as their protein needs grow, we want to be there to supply them and actually provide us opportunity on our ranches to continue to expand, grow incomes and improve our markets. The demand for our beef is there. We just need to work to provide access, and that's one thing NCBA is working hard and can do for the individual producer. We are deeply involved right now in the trade issue, and we have been for many years, but I look forward to some opportunities that are on the table right now to expand that. And I am passionate about beef being the best protein that we can supply, not only here domestically, but globally. I talk often about the rightness of our industry, and I think we are right. We have the best protein, and we have a protein that we raise in a renewable manner. That's the best thing that can happen to this grasslands here on my ranch, is for cattle to graze that grass. And while we're doing that, we're providing protein to the world.
If you'd like to learn more about what's happening with NCBA's Cattlemen to Cattlemen, you can find us on Facebook. Be sure to like our page, and we'll keep you updated with photos, details on upcoming shows, and much more. And it's a great way to connect with other cattlemen and women all across the country. So check us out on Facebook. Still ahead, we'll have the latest from Baxter Black. Plus, we'll visit Kansas to check in with 2016 NCBA President Tracy Bruner. Stay with us.
What does it mean to be an American cattleman? It means you have what it takes where it counts, on the inside. At Ritchie, we understand that. It's what's on the inside that defines us. We share the same values: ingenuity, commitment, sense of pride. These are the values that built this country. They're the values that built this company. Ritchie, proud to be a partner to the American cattlemen since 1921.
Welcome back. Tracy Bruner served as the 2016 president of the National Cattlemen's Beef Association. Before Tracy began his term as NCBA president, the Cattlemen to Cattlemen group took a trip to Kansas to learn what his operation is like and what issues were top of mind for him at that time.
Make a trip through the Flint Hills of eastern Kansas and you just might find Tracy Bruner doing what he loves to do, saddling his horse, riding out to check cattle, and tending to the business of his family's enterprise, the Cow Camp Ranch.
Well, actually, we're the third and fourth and now fifth generations of Bruners farming, ranching, raising cattle here in this part of Kansas. Our operation has evolved into a fairly diversified portion of the beef industry. We have everything from conception to consumption represented in our family entities.
On a daily basis, Tracy leads the feedlot and livestock marketing side of the business, but the Bruner family works together with Tracy and his two brothers as well as their wives and children, dividing responsibilities in a diverse farming and cattle operation.
Over time, we have become involved in genetics and seed stock production, where we raise bulls and females that go throughout the United States. We also have a farming and feeding enterprise that feeds and finishes cattle right here in our feed yard, which works very well with our grazing operation, our ranching enterprise, if you will, that grazes cattle on the native grasses of the Flint Hills. Additionally, we market those cattle through a value-based marketing system that lets us focus on quality. And not only quality of the cattle that we're raising, but the quality of beef that those cattle produce. This helps us to stay focused on the end product and realize efficiencies all through the beef animals production.
Watch Tracy on horseback or working his way through the feedlot, and you can see this is what he's spent his whole life doing, caring for cattle and working to find ways to continue raising the bar and producing the highest quality beef possible.
I was very fortunate throughout my younger years to be blessed with both family and teachers, pastors, even a county extension agent that were very supportive and very encouraging and expected success. Through the years, the livestock associations, both at the local level as well at the state level, have played a strong role in the continuing education that's very vital for me to stay in touch with not only other producers and other ideas, but new technologies and emerging ways to do things better in a more efficient manner. And so that continuing education and that networking with other producers has always been very important to us.
Always eager to learn more and give back to the industry he loves, Tracy has tackled a variety of volunteer positions in the beef industry on both the state and national level. Most recently, he's served as an officer of the National Cattlemen's Beef Association.
I am very much looking forward to being president of NCBA in 2016. I'm looking forward to attending as many state meetings and local events as possible, and seeing as many NCBA members at our national meetings. The real strength of NCBA is through its affiliates. We have over 30,000 direct members, but we also represent 250,000 cattlemen throughout the United States through our affiliates. The state organizations, the state beef councils, the breed affiliates, all are cattlemen that are part of NCBA. We truly represent cattlemen and the cattle industry in our country.
In the year he'll serve as NCBA president, Tracy sees clear priorities that can help grow the American beef cattle business.
Trade is a big one. The Trans-Pacific Partnership that has just been negotiated and signed but still needs to be ratified will be a great thing for our industry. Very important for the next generation of cattlemen in this country. It's a good agreement. It will lower our trade tariffs into our best customer, Japan, from 38% down to 9% over 16 years of the agreement.
Beyond the opportunity to grow U.S. beef exports to Japan and other Pacific Rim markets, Tracy says there are plenty of policy challenges ahead as NCBA works to protect cattle producers and their freedom to operate.
We've been pushing back on the waters of the U.S. rule ever since it was first announced several years ago. It's a classic example of government overreach into areas that just don't need to be under federal control. You know, in the second term of this administration, we've already seen an escalation of the initiatives and the use of the executive order to further the agenda of the administration. We're going to continue to need to be vigilant, to push back in places where things like additional monument designations are used, listing of endangered species are brought forward that will encroach on private property rights, and the use of public lands that are both so very vital to our cattle industry and our beef production systems throughout the country.
As always, there's no shortage of challenges to face, and in 2016, it's likely that Tracy Bruner will spend more than 200 days away from his home ranch, serving as president of the National Cattlemen's Beef Association and speaking out on behalf of the industry he loves. He'll do so to help ensure a future for family members growing up on his own ranch and for all those who hope to have a future in America's beef industry.
My hope and prayer would be that as many as possible could enjoy the independent lifestyle, the opportunity to run their own business, to work the land, raising animals, maybe working with their family, providing the high quality food, the highest quality protein that the world knows. I've never been more optimistic about the potential for our industry. With the globalization of economies and new technologies that continue to bring us closer and closer together, all the consumers of the world want to eat better, and that includes our high quality beef, the premium protein.
On the Cow Camp Ranch in Kansas, I'm Brian Baxter reporting for NCBA's Cattlemen to Cattlemen.
Up next, it's time once again for our good friend Baxter Black. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
When you're raising cattle, you might have to solve a dozen problems before you even get through your first cup of coffee. Still, one thing we don't ever have to worry about is implant performance.
We use Synvex Swingrass. It's the only true 200-day trim-blown acetate implant for grazing steers and heifers.
And you can actually drink this before it gets cold. Ooh, that'll put hair on your chest.
We know you're up before the dawn because the cattle rise before the sun. And you spend long hours in the saddle because the herd isn't always over the next rise. And you care for the land because you know it takes care of your family. And we know you do great work. And it's time to tell that story to the marketplace. IMI Global is here to help you do just that.
At Leachman Cattle, we're committed to building more profitable cattle. As a third-generation seed stock producer, our family has been in this business for over 80 years. Today, we have the best technology ever to build more profitable cattle. Our dollar profit index is a leader in the industry to help you balance all the traits that drive your bottom line. Give us a call or go to www.leachman to learn more.
There's a practice of a vet who works on horses that embodies the machismo of their kind. I was taught this ancient practice, the standing horse castration, meaning both he and I were standing at the time. To cognize the difficulty, the mule-headedness required to pursue this task of surgery and cunning, one must grasp its deeper meaning. It's often been compared to changing fan belts while the engine's running, or standing on a bar stool taking bets from one and all you can stick your head up through the ceiling fan and never touch a single blade, or spill a drop of beer. The epitome of every cultured man. As a student, I remember Dr. Voss's demonstration as he strode up to the stallion's heaving flank. "Hold him tight," he told the helpers who were hanging on the head. "He can hurt you." This stud was really rank. He tried to bite the halter guy, but only caught his collar and slung him to the ground with such a force, his underwear turned inside out. This is the chosen method to reduce the chance of injuring the horse. "You will notice," Doc proceeded, "that I grasp and pull down firmly. Some resist. I'm thinking I would too." With syringe and anesthetic, he injected both the cords, then finished, backed away a step or two. "Now we wait." "Obviously," said a student in the back who knew it all, "to allow the lidocaine to take effect." Dr. Voss looked at him blankly. "No, so you can quit shaking long enough to go ahead and test a sec." Well, lest you think this macho culture is confined to men alone, I remind you lady vets now rule the world. And a veterinary practice that might specialize in equine can easily be run by boy or girl, and I can personally attest that cutting horses standing is a gender-neutral practice in vet med. Because last weekend, Dr. Nancy examined my old pony, and I saw the ceiling fan scars on her head. This is Baxter Black from out there.
Thanks, Baxter. We always enjoy our visits with you each and every week. We'll have more Cattlemen to Cattlemen right after this. Stay with us.
If you're connected with the beef cattle business, then you should like the NCBA page on Facebook. The NCBA Facebook page shares photos, news, and valuable information about the beef cattle industry. You can also follow the NCBA Twitter feed at Beef USA. So stay in touch with NCBA on Facebook and Twitter.
It's time once again for Legacy Photos as we check out some amazing shots submitted to us by families all across the country. Let's take a look. Well, that's our time for this week's special edition of NCBA's Cattlemen to Cattlemen. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you again next week, right here on RFD TV.